So first of all, let me start off by introducing myself. My name is Alexander Opayo, and I've been a Colaberry alumni, and I'm actually currently a data engineer working for Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I work remotely, which I truly enjoy. Over the past few weeks, we've delved into the recruiting and hiring manager phases of the interviewing process, which we've likened to sipping on a milkshake and indulging in appetizers. Now it's time for the main course, the integral component that completes any meal. In the realm of interviews, this phase corresponds to technical rounds. So during the previous weeks, our focus has been on preparing you for these crucial interviews. We've provided guidance on obtaining the necessary tools and offered you guys instructions and checklists to help you master your interviews. I sincerely hope you've been diligently practicing because today marks a significant step forward. Today, we're driving into what we term real-life instructor mock interviews. The intention behind sharing these tools and insights over the past weeks was never just for knowledge's sake. We aimed for immediate application that you've learned at Colaberry. The old adage that says, stay ready so you don't have to get ready holds true. And that time is now. So I truly hope that you're geared up and ready to take this on. I hope you're hungry. You're hungry? That's good. So if I could share my screen. Okay. Can y'all see my screen? Awesome. So interview prep cookbook. This is the book series that we have, and this is your final and main course. As a recap, August recap, we began by diving into the milkshake phase, where we explored how interactions with recruiters and HR representatives form the smoothest part of the interview journey. This smoothness emerges from the wisdom of anticipating common questions and having prepared responses at the ready. This ensures that you're not caught off guard by questions that should otherwise be straightforward. We delved into the essentials of engaging with recruiters, including the do's and don'ts, as well as strategies to safeguard your personal information against scams. Following that, we progressed to the appetizer phase, where we ventured deeper into the interview process. You were equipped with a crash course in conducting comprehensive research on your interviewers through their LinkedIn profiles. This empowered you to tailor your preparation according to the individual you'd be engaging with. The significance of auto and instructor mocks became evident, along with leveraging resources like ChatGPT to furnish elaborate answers to hiring manager interview questions. The emphasis was on sharing experiences that go beyond the expected and the art of avoiding excuses. As we culminate this month-long journey, let's translate our accumulated knowledge into action. The final week serves as the proving ground for all we've imbibed in August. It's imperative to approach this with a serious demeanor because though it's preparatory in nature, the excellence you cultivate here will resonate when you step into the real arena. Let's channel our efforts to ensure mastery in our application, turning preparation into performance. So I am going to pick 8 participants and I'll give you scenarios. Now, the scenarios are basically sorted out in different roles. And you're basically sitting in an interview, and this interview is basically about behavioral scenarios that you are going to be asked during the interview process. Now, what I want the audience to do is you're going to choose a scenario, and the person that chose the scenario will answer the questions that come with that. So audience, this is how this is going to go. You are going to listen to the scenario and then the questions. And what I need you to do is listen to each person's answers. By the end of the whole process, we will take a vote. And I want you to give me the person that you think did the best in answering these questions. Remember, these are scenario-based questions that are asked in most interviews, and they just want to see how you interact with each other. Okay? So we're going to start with Zashan. You chose scenario number 5, which is adaptability and learning.
Yes.
Okay. Scenario number 5. Your role is a data analyst, and this is your scenario. You're a data analyst who has been primarily working with SQL for data query and analysis. However, a new project requires you to learn and use Power BI for data visualization. How do you approach learning a new tool and integrating into your workflow? So you're a data analyst and you've been working with SQL for a long time, doing querying and analysis. So a new project comes and it requires you to learn and use Power BI for data visualization. How do you approach learning a new tool and integrating into your workflow? These are your questions. Describe a situation where you had to quickly learn a new technical tool or software to meet project requirements.
To meet software. May you please repeat the question one more time?
Describe a situation where you had to quickly learn a new technical tool or software to meet project requirements.
All right. So my name is Zishan Ali. And so the question came up right here is describe, quickly on when you are in the job scenario. I've been learning SQL, and the situation is where now I have to learn a new tool, and how do I situate it into my new workflow? Well, first and foremost is that, I have to take a step back, take a look at what the exact requirements are. All right. And then take a look at the tool. And I have to research and do background on this tool. So for this instance, when I was on the job site working for, let's just say RMG Corporation, right, primarily was working through the SQL Server. They wanted to create something called a Power BI visualization. Now, I am quite unfamiliar with the tool. So this was a new tool that I had to learn on the job site. So to move forward through that workflow and that job site, what I did is I used my resources that, that I've been learning through, even when I'm, learning SQL and everything, is I go to, Stacks Overflow, I'll use YouTube, I'll use Google searches, I'll watch a lot of other videos to be able to learn exactly how I can integrate what I need to do into Power BI and then create those visualizations. So step by step, what I do is I make sure that everything is secured, work into my SQL, then work that into my Power BI as I am working with that flow. And I was able to successfully not only create the Power BI visualization as well as the DAX equations that were necessary for it, and create a nice visualization for the company that I was working for at that time. Okay.
Okay. Your next question. How do you ensure that your learning curve doesn't hinder your ability to deliver quality insights and reports to stakeholders? I'll repeat it again. How do you ensure that your learning curve doesn't hinder your ability to deliver quality insights and reports to your stakeholders?
All right. So the question is, how do you ensure that your learning curve does not hinder the quality to
your ability
to
deliver quality insights and reports to your stakeholders?
Okay. So that's a very good question. Now, one of the things is that for myself, I know that I am a very visual-based learner. Okay. So depending upon the project, right? Some people me included, it could be that you could be a slow learner, you could be a fast learner. There's a curve between each project that you're going to be working on. Main thing is that when you're working on a project for a company, for this case, it's the same one, which is that Power BI visualization. I have a passion for that data. Okay. So that passion allows me to really work and increase my work ethic towards building that visualization and seeing that organization and that project flourish so I can meet the customer demands. Right. So that passion drives me to work extra hours if I need to be able to make sure that I can promise on my delivers. Okay.
Good. Next question. Can you share an example of a project where your willingness to adapt and learn new skills had a positive impact on your project's outcome? I'll repeat it. Give us an example of a project where your willingness to adapt and learn new skills had a positive impact on the project's outcome.
All right. Yeah, so that's also a very good question on how that same example that I've been working with right now is when I created that new Power BI visualization tool. So to get the gist of it, I created that visualization for the company, and my learning techniques were able to add it into my resume. I was also added to, adopt a lot of materials and learning that techniques to build that visualization. And in that process, the company recognized me as one of their top developers that has the ability to adapt to the situation and work on demand when the company, in actuality, when that company needs me the most. And this allowed me to open up a lot of doors, not only within my company, but with a lot of my coworkers as well. Because now what happens is that now I act as more of a mentor towards them. And this is a very positive work environment to where, we can establish, more data-driven decisions, and as well as working with different companies because they can see on how much passion we put into the data.
Well, thank you for that. Kevin, good morning.
Morning.
You chose scenario number what? 1. Okay. Scenario number 1, problem solving and adaptability. Your role is a data analyst. This is your scenario. You're working on a project that involves analyzing customer data to identify potential trends and insights for a retail company. During the analysis, you encounter unexpected data inconsistencies that hinder your progress. How would you approach this situation and adapt your analysis to ensure accurate results? You're a data analyst. You're working on a project involving customer data, and they want to identify potential trends and insights for a retail company. And during your analysis, you had some unexpected data inconsistencies. That's going to slow you down. How would you approach this situation and adapt your analysis to ensure accurate results? Think about that for a second, and I'm going to give you questions. This is your first question. Tell us about a time when you encountered unexpected challenges while working on a data analysis project. Tell us about a time when you encountered unexpected challenges while working on a data analysis project.
Well, first, I will be trying to know what is the exact problem on the data, and when I know that, if maybe the data can be correct with the customer, I can inform the customer this are on the wrong place, or on the data are misconsistency. And then if he give me this in application, I refer to the customer.
How did you approach identifying and resolving data inconsistencies in that scenario? How did you approach identifying and resolving data inconsistencies in that scenario?
Maybe I can use a script task. Sorry, it's my first day, so I'm a little bit nervous.
Not a problem. Not a problem. You're doing your best. The other question is, how do you communicate the situation and your approach to your team or supervisor? Remember, you're a data analyst, you're working on a project involving analyzing customer data, and you find that you have some unexpected data inconsistencies. Your question to you is, how did you communicate the situation and your approach to your team or your supervisor?
First, for me, I have to know the data very well, and then to know what is the problem or what is the data mistakes. So I can go back to the customer and to know this data are in misconsistency.
So how do you communicate that to your team or your supervisor? You talk to the customer. I heard that part. So how do you communicate that to your team or your supervisor?
Maybe I can prepare a little bit meeting.
Okay. To your team or your supervisor?
Both of them.
Okay. Your other question is, what did you learn from that experience? And how would you apply that knowledge to future projects? What did you learn from that experience? And how would you apply that knowledge to your future projects?
I'm sorry, can someone cover me?
This is your interview. They're not there with you. You're by yourself.
Of course, but I'm not prepared right now. I'm just starting the IPBC or the mortgage project.
Okay, well, somebody can volunteer to answer that for you if you want them to. Pick somebody. Well, she didn't answer the last question. Okay. Well, we give it that. Jane. Jane.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Well, thank you.
Yes, you're sitting in your behavioral scenarios interview. You chose scenario number 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your scenario. You chose attention to detail and quality assurance. Your role is a quality assurance analyst. This is the scenario. You are a quality assurance analyst responsible for ensuring the accuracy of a Power BI dashboard's data visualization. During your review, you notice that some visualizations do not align with the underlying data. How do you address this issue and ensure data integrity? Again, your job, you're a quality assurance analyst, and you're responsible for ensuring the accuracy of Power BI dashboards visualization. And during your review, you notice that some of the visualizations do not align with the underlying data. How do you address this issue to ensure data integrity? So your question is, tell us about a time when your attention to detail helps you identify discrepancies or errors in data analysis or reporting. I repeat, tell us about a time when your attention to detail helped you identify discrepancies or errors in data analysis or reporting.
Thank you for that question. There was a time when my team and I have experience working on cross-functional teams. So we were involved in coming up with a BI solution for our client, for a sales retail client. And so depending on our organization's processes and requirements, we needed to, of course, come up with a BI solution and collect data and also liaise a lot with the data engineering team. So during the process, once we gathered the necessary data, it was crucial to prepare it for analysis and visualization. But that's when we noticed that there were some data inconsistencies and inaccuracies. So since Power BI provides, a wide range of data cleaning and transformation capabilities, I had to make sure my team and I, because I'm the one who caught it first. And so what I did was gather the team together and just, come up with a solution. And so we had to go into the data and, of course, look at the defects and look at the KPIs once again and see if they were relevant to, up to our quality assurance standards. And so we had to rely on a wide variety of capabilities that Power BI offers. So we looked at, if just looking at the visualizations and how they could enhance the effectiveness of our report. And we had to see how we could clean the data, get rid of any null values, and just massage the data to make sure that it gave us the right, and of course, the accurate measures that we needed, especially when it came to creating our, DAX formulas. So that went a long way in ensuring that we had good data and consistent data so that we could be able to go on to the next stage of creating our visualizations. So we came up with some, line and stacked column charts. We came up with a scatter plot just to communicate what the data for our client. And of course, after that, we went ahead and held a meeting with the stakeholders just to keep them abreast on how our progress was going. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's how we went, how we handled quality assurance when we were met with I would say a slight crisis, not really a major one. Thank you.
Okay. So next question. How would you approach investigating the misalignment between visualizations and data in the Power BI dashboard? How would you approach investigating the misalignment between visualizations and data in the Power BI dashboard?
Could you repeat the question again?
How would you approach investigating the misalignment between visualizations and data in the Power BI dashboard?
So no, normally what I normally do as a Power BI developer on a day-to-day basis, what I do is when I look at a dashboard and something is just not right with it, I look at, say, a particular visualization, say if it's a line and column clustered chart, I turn it into a table so I can compare the different matrices and see if they make any kind of sense. If they do not, then I go back into the Power Query editor and just take a closer look at, of course, some of the formulas, the DAX formulas. If I need to just look at if the data is reliable, if it's up to date, if I need to, do more transformations on the data just to improve the report's data model.
Next question. What steps would you take to communicate the issue to the relevant stakeholders and collaborate with the team to resolve it? So what steps are you going to take to communicate this issue to your stakeholders and collaborate with your team to resolve it?
So we are very big on teamwork and within our organization, and we normally rely on the agile methodology. So that means we have Scrum meetings, and sometimes we just have daily briefs. So what I would do is set one up and just relay the information to the team and the stakeholders. And the thing with Power BI, if you want to, it offers co-authoring capabilities. So if I want to enable multiple users to edit and contribute to the report simultaneously, I can do that. So they are able to also see from my end what is going on, and they can be able to chime in and give their relevant feedback.
Awesome. And your last question is, can you provide an example of how your quality assurance efforts improve the accuracy and reliability of a data-driven project? So give us an example of how your quality assurance efforts improve the accuracy and reliability of a data-driven project.
So this one time we were working on a data set. We were supposed to come up with a report for H&M sports apparel. So the thing with this particular data set, it did not have a date column, so we had to maneuver our way around it. And the team and I, we were trying to just come up with ways of, just giving our client, a good report, a good and reliable report. But when it came to just working on and coming up with a vision, just a good report, we were met with a lot of challenges just because we did not have a date column. So but we went ahead and just leveraged the capabilities that were at our disposal with Power BI, and we were able to create just a very informative and impactful report, just to enable the client to continuously improve and also increase their revenue. And oh boy, I don't know what else to say. How many questions do I have?
I'll tell you, that was your last question. That's fine. Go ahead, just finish it.
Okay.
Just say that in an interview.
I'm trying to think on my feet.
That's fine.
Oh
That's
boy.
fine.
Yes. Oh boy, I even forgot what you're asking me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read a lot. I mean, on the quality assurance, but I don't think
Awesome.
I don't think I did a job on that one.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I hope you guys remember that these questions are not made up. These are actual questions that are actually asked in the market, in the field. Some of these questions I've actually encountered them myself. So I'm just laughing. I'm like, I cannot believe they ask these questions still today, but they do. So don't be surprised when you get asked those questions. Thank you very much, Jane. TG, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good.
You chose scenario number 2.
Yes.
Okay, we'll give you a scenario. Scenario 2 is collaboration and communication. Your role, you're a BI developer. This is your scenario. You are a part of a team working on a complex business intelligence project that involves data integration from various sources and the creation of a comprehensive dashboard for senior management. How have you effectively communicated with team members and stakeholders to ensure the project's success? So you, as a BI developer, you need to collaborate and communicate with your team, and you're working on a complex business intelligence project, which involves getting data from different sources and create a comprehensive dashboard for senior management, your CEO, CIO, CFO, and everybody else. We want to know how you effectively communicated with your team members and stakeholders to ensure the project's success. Describe a situation where you had to work closely with colleagues from different technical backgrounds on a project. I'll repeat it again. Describe a situation where you had to work closely with colleagues from different technical backgrounds on a project.
Okay. I have once been a lead in a team that we're developing a solution for a system that will collect data from different sources and then transform the data and create a solution, a final app. So I was a lead in that project. So the first thing I would do to effectively communicate with the team members is arranging different meetings and actively or pay close attentions when they are speaking or when they are telling what they are expecting from the project or what they are trying to solve by developing the system. So I try to actively listen them, avoid any interruptions, or try to understand their points before going to plan any steps. So yeah, that's how I try to collect the information and try to manage the project at hand.
The next question, give us an example of a challenge you faced when explaining technical concepts to non-technical stakeholders. So give us an example of you explaining some technical concepts to people who do not understand any technical concepts at all, to their stakeholders. Give us an example.
Okay, so in the project I just said, some of the stakeholders were not able to understand the way I want or the way I expect. So I was very careful in choosing the right medium of communication when I try to say anything. So I was I usually opt for I usually use emails for formal communications, but I opt for in-person or video meeting for more complex discussions. So paying attention or the different messages may require different communication channels. So I would be very careful in the communication channel I use. Sometimes I can use text-based communications like chat or emails, but for more complex or technical things, discussions, if I know the stakeholder or the end user is not technically savvy, I try to use video or in-person communication.
How do you communicate, or should I say, how do you use your communication style to ensure that everyone understood the project's progress and goals? So tell me how you've adapted your communication style to ensure that everybody understood the project's progress and goals.
Yeah, like I said, I pay close attention when others are speaking. I may ask if they are clear, if they understand what I said, and also I used to I try to be clear and concise when express my thoughts in a clear and concise manner. I avoid any jargons or overly complex language that might confuse some of the colleagues or stakeholders. Then get to the point while providing necessary context is also another thing I do. And I tailored the message or the words I assigned. Keep in mind the type of the worker or the stakeholders in mind, and I also make sure that they can approach me. I make sure I am approachable either by email or phone calls. so they can ask me anytime they encountered with any problem.
Here's your last question.
Mhm.
What strategies have you used to ensure transparency and accountability within your project team? So tell me the strategy that you have used to ensure transparency and accountability within your project team.
Yeah, transparency and accountability. I use like I provide like constructive feedbacks whenever I noticed a good behavior or a good job. At the same time, when I noticed something that keep the team from achieving the goal, or some colleagues or workers are not doing what they are supposed to do. So I communicate them directly, and like I think Jane said, I also schedule Scrum meetings where we can talk our accomplishments or expectations, and any complaints or compliments we'll have. During that time, I address any issues that I have with the co-workers.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Millie, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for showing up for your behavioral scenario-based questions interview. And you chose what scenario?
I guess it was 7.
7, perfect, thank you. So now going to your scenario. Your scenario is problem solving and technical challenges. As a BI developer, that's going to be your role. You're working on a project that involves transforming and merging data from multiple sources. During the data integration process, you encounter a technical challenge that affects the ETL workflow. How would you approach troubleshooting and resolving this challenge? So you're the BI developer, you're trying to figure out how do you do problem solving and technical challenges that you're going to face. And while you're working on the project that's involving transforming and merging data from multiple sources, in the integration process, something happened. Some technological challenge affected the ETL workflow. We want to know, how would you approach troubleshooting and resolving this challenge? Your question: describe a scenario where you encountered a technical challenge while working on a data integration or ETL project. So give us a scenario where you encountered a technical challenge while working on a data integration or ETL project.
Can you just repeat the question one more time?
The question is saying, describe a scenario where you encountered a technical challenge while working on a data integration or ETL project.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Milion. Recently, I was working on a project where different sources, where we were extracting and loading data from different sources from Excel, XML, and some online sources as well. So these data, we are trying to load it into staging area, but the data were not coming. So we tried to solve this problem, and we checked our data source, and it was, in fact, it was the path that was given to our ETL workflow was wrong path. That's why these data were not coming, were not flowing. So we corrected the data path, and we were able to solve the problem. and all the data were able to flow. But when we use some queries to show the data, and some of the data were not, we were not able to watch all the data in the table. We had a lot of null value, and the problem was with a data type. So we were able to use some transformation to change the data type in order to be compatible with the destination table. So after using the data type transformation, we were able to load our data successfully into our staging table.
How would you use your problem-solving skills to identify the root cause of the issue and determine its impact on the project? How would you use your problem-solving skills to identify the root cause of the issue and determine its impact on the project?
We are data analysts or BI developers. We depend on the data. In fact, we depend on the quality of the data. So the first thing is, do I have the right data? Like, what's my data look like? So the root cause starts with the data source. Do I have all the data that I need to work on this project? So first we check all the available sources, the data sources that we have, and then we check our loading process, the ETL process. Do I have all the setup, the diagram, all the setup, the source data and the final destination? Do I have it? After that, we also check, do I use all the transformation tools? Do I need to change the data type so I will have the compatible data type? Do I have the proper column? If I'm working on time intelligence, do I need to have like a year, months, or quarters? Do I have all this? So I start with the root cause, which is the availability of the data that I have. And also I check if I have a good data. Is my data full of null values, blanks, and other incompatible data types? So I address those issues. And I talk to the technical people or the stakeholders, how I handle all the null values and all the NA values or all the blanks that I have. How do I address? If they have, if they could get fixed those data, missing data, once they address or once I am informed how to handle all these missing data, blanks and nulls values, then I proceed how I transfer the data from data source into my final destination, which is the staging table. Once I am able to load all the data into my staging table, then I am thinking about how do I transfer this data into the data warehouse table. Am I using the right transforming tools? Do I have all the rows that I need to do this project done? Once I fix all the fix all the problems, then I load my data into warehouse. At this time, I'm ready to move to do the project, which is data analysis.
Okay, awesome. Your next question is, explain the steps you would take to collaborate with your team members, such as the database administrators or the data engineers, to address the challenge. So your job now is to explain the steps you're going to take so that you can collaborate with your database administrators or your data engineers to resolve or address the challenge.
All right. So we are here to make a successful project that would help us to make a data-driven decision. So in order to do this successfully, we need the collaboration of all the parties, the data administrators, the stakeholders, the technical developers, everyone. So we will define, or I will demand, that we need to follow the agile methodology. And I demand to have a meeting on a certain interval. It could be weekly or it could be bi-weekly. We need to have a meeting, and we need to break our project into manageable stories. So once we start the stories, we have to have a continuous engagement with data engineers and stakeholders and all parties. Once we finish, we could start with data collecting. So I will show the data that I have with data engineers and stakeholders. This is the data that I have. Once they agree, then we could go to the next step, which is loading. Once we load, so it's not, this is the data that you have, come and see me when you finish the project. No, we need to have like a constant meeting. We need to monitor the development. We need to have the BDR, the business document requirements. Do they agree? What's their requirements? What do they want? What's their expectation? How is it going? So all the process I have to show them. Then once they agree, I'll go to the next step. Then I'll show them, or I'll communicate. I'll have a meeting and I'll show how do I say this? The progress. I will share the progress. Once they agree, then I will go until I finish the project. Then when the project is finished, they cannot say that we don't want this, or we didn't say that we have, because they were in every step. So this is how I engage every part.
Awesome. This is your last question. Can you share an experience where your technical expertise and problem-solving skills contributed to a successful completion of a complex BI project? So give us an experience where your technical expertise and your problem-solving skills contributed to the successful completion of a complex BI project.
Yes. Obviously, I would like to mention the project that I was in, which is the mortgage project. It was a long process, tedious, a lot of work needed. So once we started, me and my team, we were working on this project. We encountered so many problems that I was in. So for example, let me give you this. Some of the data, they changed. So we tried to capture some of the changes using the slow changing dimension. And we give this data back to the technical people to address the changes. And some of the changes were, for example, the marital status. Some people during the mortgage application, they were single. Now they are married, which means they have multiple income. And some changes like address change. Some of them, they have changes like a number of size of the family, or things like that. So we were able to capture these changes because our report has to be historically correct. So until the end of the project, we were trying to keep our record historically correct, and we were able to capture all the changes that have been made. And we also moved with the data that we had. In a process, we lost some important data that we had to go back and get the necessary data again, because of some technical issues, some data were lost. So we had to go back and get all the appropriate data. because our project has to be inclusive. No, because all the data are important, nothing has to be missing from our project. This is what I can remember for now.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lydia, good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to your behavioral scenario interview. What scenario did you choose?
3.
3. Awesome. Let's go to scenario number 3. Now, this is about time management and prioritization. You're an ETL developer, so your work is you're working on a project that involves migrating data from outdated system to a new platform, from an old system to a new platform. The project timeline is tight and its unexpected data complexities come up. How have you managed your time and prioritized tasks to meet project deadlines? So you're an ETL developer, you're working on a project, you're migrating data from different systems that are old, putting them in a new system, and now you got a deadline to meet. So the timeline is tight, its unexpected complexities come up. Your job is to figure out how you're going to manage your time and prioritize your tasks and meet your project deadlines. Your question: give us an experience when you had to manage multiple tasks with tight deadlines while working on an ETL project. Give us an experience when you had to manage multiple tasks with tight deadlines while working on an ETL project.
Can you repeat that question again one more time?
The question is saying, share an experience you had to manage multiple tasks with tight deadlines while working on an ETL project.
So I was working with RMG, and RMG is a mortgage company working under Colaberry. So Colaberry gets projects from different companies, and RMG was one of our biggest projects, and we were getting data from different sources to put it into one source. So with that and working on other different projects, I had to sit down and kind of create a schedule or a timetable. So we had a timeline from the client, and I had to sit down and create my own timeline. What this means is I had to try to sit down and make sure at least I have a 2-day leeway to be able to finish and sit down with the team to go over the project to make sure the project was up to standard.
Okay, your next question. How do you prioritize tasks and allocate your time effectively to ensure project milestones are met? How do you prioritize tasks and allocate your time effectively to ensure project milestones are met?
So after working in the industry for a certain time, a certain period, I've discovered patterns on how long it takes me to finish certain projects. I've always learned to make sure that my timeline is always earlier than what the client or the stakeholders' time is. What this does is it gives me time to be able to review my project, or also if something else comes up that needs to be done, I still will have time to complete my my projects. So when I go into every project, the first thing I ask is what my timeline is, what my schedule looks like. So then I can sit down and create a kind of like a schedule, either use like calendar, Outlook calendar, or whatever is available to me to create my timeline and my projects on when they are due on my end, not on the client's end.
Okay. The other question is, how do you adjust your timeline and approach to accommodate the challenges without compromising the project's quality? How do you adjust your timeline and approach to accommodate the challenges without compromising the project's quality?
I think that's a case-by-case question, meaning depending on what the project is. Sometimes I will have to put on extra hours to accommodate the challenges that come up. So it could be my time, let's say, and this is a quote unquote, is 8 to 5. Sometimes I'll have to stay an hour, 2 hours longer to accommodate the challenges or to solve the challenges that come up to make sure that the project is still, like the timeline for the project is still on track.
So thank you. Here's our last question. What steps did you take to communicate the revised timeline to relevant stakeholders and manage the expectations? So we want to know, what steps did you take to communicate the revised timeline to relevant stakeholders and to manage the expectations?
So I always involve my team in things that involve stakeholders. So if we can solve something internally, that's where to start. So if I see that the timeline for the project is going to change because of the challenges or the added requirements from our clients, the first thing I do is I'll sit with my team members and discuss it. And after we discuss it, then I will bring it up to my supervisor. And after we discuss that, then we can create a meeting or schedule a meeting to talk to our stakeholders and kind of present to them the reason on why the timeline or why we need the timeline to change.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Ale, good morning. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So good morning. Welcome to your interview.
Thank you.
You chose scenario, which one?
I don't remember.
Number 4. Okay, this is your scenario. Number 4. It's based on critical thinking and analytical skills. Your role, your business intelligence manager. This is the scenario. As a business intelligence manager, you are leading a team tasked with analyzing customer engagement metrics for an online platform. The team's analysis reveals a sudden decline in user activity. How have you leveraged your critical thinking and analytical skills to uncover the root causes of the decline and propose effective solutions? So you're the manager and you're leading your team and you're analyzing customer data and the metrics on an online platform. And all of a sudden you got user activity declining. So we want to know how you've leveraged your critical thinking and analytical skills to figure out the root causes of the decline, and you're proposing an effective solution. Question. Tell us about a situation where you use your critical thinking skills to address a sudden change or decline in data trends. So give us a situation where you've used your critical thinking skills to address a sudden change or decline in data trends.
This is a very good question. Once I encounter this problem, I try to go to the platform as a user and see if the platform is working correctly or not. And then after that, when I see like everything is working okay, I try to come up with different causes. I try to guess what may be different causes for something similar, something similar that can happen. Even if I cannot come up with the cause, I search online for similar cases to see what other people encounter and what was the causes, and something
Okay.
like that.
Your next
What?
question.
Okay.
Describe the steps you took to collaborate with your team members and gather insights from various perspectives. So tell us the steps you took to collaborate with your team and gathering insights from various perspectives.
Yes, as I said, after testing the website myself and see if everything is working correctly or not, I try to guess what's going on, and if I cannot come up with an idea, I schedule a meeting with my team members and explain the situation to them, and try to get their insight and idea, and kind of brainstorm about the cause of the problem. And sometimes I get really good insights from the colleagues that I didn't think of it before. So, and we test the good ideas for seeing if it can help to solve the problem or not.
Okay, so next question. What strategies did you use to drill down into the data to validate your hypothesis and uncover the root cause? So what strategy, as far as your critical thinking skills are concerned, did you use to drill down into the data to validate your hypothesis and uncover the root causes?
To validate my what?
Your hypothesis, like your thinking, like your analysis. I should have said analysis, sorry about that. Validate your analysis.
This is a very good question. What a step I take to drill down to the data. If the data has some category, I try to look it from a bigger scale, then try to go deep down on if a certain category is divided to some subcategories, and each one based on some specifications divided to more detailed subcategory. I try to identify these metrics, these data, and try to start it from bigger picture to more step by step to go to more detailed data.
Okay. This is your last question. Now, after all those critical thinking and analyzing, how did you present your findings to the stakeholders? And what suggestions, actionable solutions to address the decline in user activity? So what did you do after all your analytical thinking and analyzing? How did you present your findings to your stakeholders? And what suggestions did you give them to address the decline on user activity?
Once happened is for me, I tried to schedule a meeting with the stakeholders and created a presentation, a simple presentation file to describe the situation. And after that, I explained the solutions our team come up with, and also if we solve anything in continue, I explained the steps we took to solve the problem in a very general and in a general point of in a very in general concepts, so it can be easily understandable for stakeholders with different backgrounds. And I just try to present how good work our team did about solving this problem, and what was the effect of our steps.
Awesome. Thank you very much. You're almost done. You're almost done. One more interviewer. That's Calvin. Is it Calvin or Calvin?
Calvin.
Calvin. I'm so sorry. I apologize. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, you last but not least. You chose the only remaining scenario as number 8.
Yes.
Okay, so your scenario is going to be communication and stakeholder management. You're a business intelligence manager. This is your scenario. As a BI manager, you're leading a team responsible for creating a comprehensive ETL process for data warehouse migration. The project involves working with stakeholders from different departments. How do you ensure effective communication and alignment with stakeholders throughout the project? So this is based on communication and stakeholder management. As the manager, you're leading a team for about warehouse migration, and it's involving working with stakeholders from different departments. IT, health department, HR, and all that stuff. And you want to make sure that you have effective communication and alignment with the stakeholders throughout the project. Here's your question. Describe a situation where you had to manage communication with stakeholders from diverse backgrounds while leading a BI project. So give us a situation where you had to manage communication with your stakeholders from diverse backgrounds while you're leading a BI project.
So in the start of the project, I assigned tasks to different teams, and I ensure that they understand the stakeholders' requirements. And also during as the project starts, I always held meetings with the team working on the project, and I get to understand on their progress, the challenges they are facing, and what they have done so far on as much as the project is concerned. And then I always also schedule meetings with the stakeholders and update them on the progress of the project in an easy and understandable way, considering that some stakeholders do not have technical skills, and explaining to them on what we have done so far, what the team is working on, and asking them if so far it meets their requirements. If the stakeholders feels that they need to add something on the project, or something is not meeting their requirements, then I document what they want to be changed and what needs to be added to the project. And I go back and schedule another meeting with the team working on the project, explain to them what the stakeholders needs, and also if any addition needs to be added on the project. And as they move on correcting what the stakeholders said or adding whatever the stakeholders added, I have frequent meetings with them. And that's the way I go about with the project, working on a team, on a technical team with the stakeholders, back and forth with the team and the stakeholders.
Okay, your next question. How do you tailor your communication style to address the concerns and expectations of stakeholders with varying levels of technical expertise? So you have an architect, you got a DBA, and maybe a developer in that team. So you want to make sure, or the question to you is, how are you going to use your communication style to address the concerns and expectations of the stakeholders? Some of them don't even have any technical expertise.
So I can talk about a scenario whereby we were working on a project to develop a dashboard in Power BI. And so the developers were arguing on which kind of dashboard they were going to work on. Some of them wanted to have all the visuals. We had a lot of visuals in one dashboard. And then some of them were like, we need to use drill downs. But at this point, we could not choose which one to work on. So what I decided is that we had the draft of both of them. And then I had a meeting with the stakeholders, and then I presented to them. So since the stakeholders were not, they didn't have the technical skills. So there was no way I could just say, so we have the drill down and we have this one. So what I did, I presented to them in a way that they could easily understand. So like, instead of just saying, we have drill downs, you drill down to this and this. What the language I used was click for more details. And from that point, the stakeholders chose the one that used drill downs because it was not crowded like the other one. So when I had the meeting with the developers, I told them that the stakeholders chose the drill down one. Yeah, and that's how I communicate in an easy way for the stakeholders and the developers to understand.
All right, your next question. Explain your approach in setting clear project expectations and goals with stakeholders to ensure minimal misunderstandings. So give us a new approach, how you set clear project expectations and your goals with your stakeholders to ensure you have minimal misunderstandings.
So as I said before, what has been working for me for the stakeholders to understand the goals of the project, I always communicate in an easy to understand way to the stakeholders. And I always give information to the detail. So I ensure that they understand what goes on in the project until the end of the project. Considering the fact that most of the stakeholders don't have technical skills, I always explain to them about the project as much as the project is technical, but in an easy to understand way. Yeah, that's what I can say about how I deal with the stakeholders.
Okay, here's your last question. Can you provide an example of how your management skills contributed to a successful BI project's completion and your overall organization goals? So give us an example of how your management skills have contributed to a successful BI project's completion and overall organization goals.
When I was working on a project that I was tasked as a manager, I was able to achieve the goal of the project that we were working on. So this is how I worked on that project. I gathered the requirements from the stakeholders. And then after gathering the requirements, I documented and then had a meeting with the team members that were going to work on the project. I splitted the project into small tasks, and I assigned every team member a task to work on. And as a manager, I always had stand-up meetings with the team to make sure that every team member was working on their task in alignment with the goals of the project. And those team members that had challenges were able to be assisted. So in that way, working with the team, having stand-up meetings and ensuring that every team member was working in alignment with the the business requirements, having meetings with the stakeholders and updating them on the progress of the project, and then also listening to the concerns of the stakeholders on the project and ensuring that the project meets the requirements. I was able to complete a project that met the requirements of the stakeholder.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I want to say thank you to Zeshan, Feven, Jane, TG, Millie, Lydia, Ale, and Calvin. That was awesome. All you guys have actually heard all these people, the 8 participants, go through the scenario-based questions. Basically, these are the questions that they ask you in the field. Millie, how do you think you did?
It was a good experience. I think we had a moment of interviewing experience. We felt that pressure, but I wish we had like some time to prepare, but it was good all the time. Like overall, it was good.
Awesome. Halil, how you think you did? Halil, I'm sorry, I apologize, Halil.
No problem. I could have done better. Actually, in some parts, I didn't come up with an idea to how to sum up the story I created. Just poor performance, I think.
Awesome. Calvin, how do you think you did?
I think I did my best, but I can do better.
That was great. Now there's supposed to be a poll button that I'm not even seeing here. This is interesting. So everybody in the chat, please do me a favor. I want you guys to
Alexander, right next
yes.
on the left side of the chat button should be it.
Yeah, it's not on there. Let me share my screen, because remember when I had a little glitch, then I guess it put me back in, but it didn't put me as a host.
Okay.
And that poll thing is missing.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me see if I can make you a co-host. No, only Mika's account can do that one.
Yeah.
They put me as a co-host, and I can actually do the poll, I guess.
Yeah, please, if you can launch it for me, that'd be great.
The host can actually make you a co-host.
Yeah, only the host can do that.
Yeah, let me see if I can reach out to him. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that. Well, she's reaching out. Just a little should I say prep. These interviews happens on a regular basis all the time. All I can tell you guys and girls is don't be scared. As a good way of interviewing, try and make sure that you don't pause in long periods of time. When you do that, you let the interviewer know that, number one, you're not prepared. Number two, you're not sure what you're saying. Number three, you have no clue while you're sitting in front of them. They happen all the time. They'll come up and ask you just questions, scenario-based questions. Many people that interview always go there thinking, oh, they're going to ask me this, they're going to ask me that. I don't know this technical thing. I don't know how to write this. Some of these questions do have nothing to do with you coding, has nothing with you whiteboarding or anything. They're just scenario-based questions just to ask you how you perform in a situations like that. They happen every day. I've seen some mentees go in an interview and they didn't even ask any technical question and they got the job, a six-figure paying job. They just asked them, what would you do if you ran into a problem? What would you do if somebody's truncated the data? Do you tell somebody, or if you did it yourself, what would you do? You know, how do you work in a team environment? Because they're trying to incorporate you into their team, into their company, into their job role, title, or anything to that effect. So, oh, there goes the poll. Thank you, Stephanie. So, as basically
You're welcome.
a tip. Yes, thanks. A tip for y'all is go there with a clear mind. And I remember when I was asking some of these questions, you can answer as long as you want, but don't go on too long, because now you start sounding redundant or you're just blabbering. So try to be, short and concise and make sure you know what you're saying, because it's subliminal that people do this without even realizing they're doing it. When you're sitting there searching for words, you're like, yeah, when you're doing that, the interviewer is saying you're either not prepared or you're searching for your answers. So try to limit that. It's something that you cannot control. It happens. It happened to me before. I've been to 7 interviews where the interviewer could smell if I was BSing because I didn't even know what I was saying. Sometimes you're going to get caught saying things you didn't intend to say. So try to rehearse it. I always try to rehearse with people that I know or family members, or have somebody ask me a couple questions, because these behavioral questions happen all the time. Without further ado, I'm gonna give you guys 60 seconds so that you can do the poll and find out who did the best. I'm gonna end the poll and I'm gonna share the results based on the polling that you guys did. We have a 3-way tie. We have a 3-way tie. I'm gonna share the results. Can you guys see the results? So the person that took scenario number 1, that was Fevin. Fevin got 14%. The person that chose scenario number 6, that was Jane. She got 14%. And the person that chose number 7, scenario 7, was Millie, also got 14%. This is awesome. Just to let you know that you can have more than one winners. Every scenario is different based on different scenarios. One person can answer it better than the other scenario. Or if I gave you this scenario, answer it a different way. Other than that, that was awesome. That was good. I'm going to leave y'all with this. Oh my God. I apologize. I did not scroll down. Hold up. Sorry. The person that won this is Calvin. She got 18%. My bad. I apologize. The business intelligence manager scenario number 8 by Calvin got 18%. So she is the winner, and we have a 3-way tie of 14%. So that was awesome. That was awesome. That was good. That was great. I really appreciate you guys participating, but I will leave you all with this. Keep in mind that don't quit. Practice, and go to those interviews. It doesn't matter even if you don't get the job. One of them will open up. I keep telling my mentees the same thing. Keep knocking on them doors. Out of 30 doors, maybe 2 doors is going to open. I've been in like 9 interviews and actually got my dream job. So I've been in the company for about 2 years now, and I love it. And I'm going to tell y'all going to get there. All righty? Y'all have a good afternoon. Have a good day, and thank you very much.